have always been curious about the history behind why we wear black to funerals in America. It's such a common custom that we participate in without questioning its origin. But being the nosy person I am, I wanted to understand how black became the prominent color for funerals in America, and why it isn't a different color. Along with this, I've also been curious about what other countries wear to funerals if it's not black. So, let's go ahead and jump in, shall we? Oh, also, I need to get into something more fitting for the occasion. The tradition of wearing black or dark colors to a funeral actually started in the Roman Empire, where families would wear a darker colored toga if someone had recently passed away. These togas were called toga pulla. I hope I'm saying that right, for their darker colors. Historians believe that this is where the inspiration for wearing black came from in the West. In 1861, Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert, passed away, which absolutely devastated her, and as a result, she wore black for the rest of her life until her own death. The upper class of Britain at the time noticed this and began to copy her clothing during mourning, along with turning it into a status symbol. During this time, black clothing started spreading as the standard, for the upper class at least, throughout the West. Strict rules were applied to widows who had lost their husbands, which consisted of wearing black dresses and veils for a year after his death. After that year, they could wear something gray or purple for another year before they could even return to their regular clothes. Since America was founded by Britain, the funeral customs eventually made its way overseas. Still at the time, black was only for the upper class, since it was a rather expensive color to dye fabric with. So, how did wearing black grow out of the confines of just being for the upper class? That is all thanks to the Industrial Revolution and the development of the middle class. This allowed for easier production and manufacturing of black fabrics to be made and mourning clothes to be worn. By the end of the 1800s, wearing black for mourning was pretty much something everyone could wear regardless of status. You could even find sections dedicated to mourning attire in department stores of that time like Lord & Taylor. Since mourning attire has expanded past the bounds of just for the rich, it has since then become more modernized and relaxed in its rules. Now, people are expected to wear black to most formal funerals, typically a dress for women and a suit for men. If not that, then a black sweater with a white collar and dress pants can work well for both genders. For more relaxed funerals, a dark gray or a navy blue can also be acceptable. It's really up to the family's wishes on what colors are worn at the funeral. Black has been a color traditionally associated with death, mourning, and emptiness or absence. It can be a way for people to convey their emotions and grief, along with allowing others to empathize with them. Now people wear black to funerals more so out of respect for the family and their loss, showing that the individual themselves is mourning with the family. Along with this, black has had such a long-lasting tradition as the color of mourning in America. Albeit there has been different colors starting to be used more often, black is still the color most Americans traditionally associate with death, mourning, and grief. So, what about other cultures? Black is common in most of Europe and the UK and Australia, but in China, white is the most common colors for funerals. White has been the traditional color since ancient times, and white represents purity and fulfillment, which is why it is worn to honor the dead. Also in China, a mourning family might hang a white banner outside their front door. In Egypt, the color yellow is commonly worn to funerals since it is associated with the sun and gold that was used with mummies. So, that is how black became the traditional color for funerals in America. It has a long history, but only really began to see a rise in its popularity in the West in 1861, following the death of Prince Albert and Queen Victoria's mourning. Over time, as the Industrial Revolution formed the middle class, black expanded out of the upper class as a color of mourning and became more widespread. Now, in more modern times of America, we still traditionally use black as the color for mourning and funerals, but different colors like dark gray and navy blue have slowly begun to be incorporated as well.